road.
You want to go?
And they have lofty goals for next year. TE does. So anything you can do to help me on that side.
Yeah. I actually got a call with them. Well, probably next week. No, TE.
Yeah. Zach over there. Right now going back and forth about, hey, what are you thinking? How many do you think you're going to move next year? And I mean, you're coming back with us with over 150 heat pump water here. So, all right, let's run.
All right, man.
We're only missing one.
Okay.
It's fine.
All right.
I'll go ahead and introduce you now.
Cool.
All right, guys. Good morning. As you see, today's meeting is a little bit different than what we normally have. We have folks from Rheem here. They're going to go over some stuff on some hybrid heaters and things like that. And I know we're going to talk about what you had asked about wiring up the 80-gallon heater. Again, this morning, it's going to be totally with Rheem. You guys remember Tim? He's been here before. But for right now, pay attention, ask the questions. I'm sure the more questions they ask, the better the training ends up being sometimes.
Yeah, usually.
Yeah. You just sit there and, put your head down. It's not going to work out too well. If anybody needs something to write with, I have a notepad and pens and stuff like that. Other than that, you want to take notes on your phone, that's fine. We are going to get a copy of the presentation. So if you need that later on, that's good enough. I got these too.
So guys, it's really to make you guys feel comfortable with the heat pump water heater, the applications. So please engage and where you should install them, where you can install them, where's a great opportunity areas to stay away from. It's really all about you guys. So please engage.
You got something a little bigger than mine.
You guys need one? No? Yes? No? Maybe so? I'll take one. Speak up? Yep.
Yes, sir. Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right.
You guys good? Yes? No?
Want me to walk down the hall?
Okay? Yeah.
No.
All right.
All right, man.
Show's yours.
Morning, guys. How you doing? You have a good week? Yeah. So as Bill said, my name's Tim House. For those of you who don't know, sign-in sheet going around. Appreciate in case I need a alibi for later. If you are interested in continuing to add, all I ask, instead of a phone number, you put your license number down. So I can give the state what they want. So this morning we're going to cover two things. Primarily we're here for hybrids, but we'll cap it off with the field conversion for the ELD. I've got wiring diagram, colored wiring diagram to give everybody as well. And then anybody that wants to come up and actually do the conversion, it's pretty simple. Just a couple things to look out for. All right, so before we get started, how many of you guys, so we're here about hybrids, heat pump water heaters. Who has installed or worked on a heat pump or hybrid water heater? All right, so a couple. Love them, hate them? Mixture. All right, give or take. All right. So that's primarily the reason we're here. So kind of the agenda is why we're even talking about them, why to choose Rheem, how to offer. There is a price difference when you're looking at hybrids. How it works, which I think most probably already know how it works. How to transport. There's a lot of misinformation on how to transport them. How to install them. I think that's what you guys primarily want. Know where to put them, how to install them, so you get comfort. And then we'll end it with how to service. We have a unit up here. We will be dismantling as we go, kind of show you where everything's at. So why are we having this discussion? Well, May of 2029, the Department of Energy is changing the energy efficiency on any heater over 35 gallons. Currently, anything over 55 gallons has to be over a 2.0 UEF. So the only way you can achieve that is heat pump. So the 80-gallon ELD, that's a commercial heater. So a residential heater has to have a higher efficiency. So that's why we no longer make 80 gallons. 2029, instead of it being anything over 55 gallons, they're changing that 55 to 35. So consider this, 2030, the largest electric heater you'll be able to purchase residential is a 35-gallon heater. How many 50-gallon electric heaters do you install on an average? Quite a few? A lot. So some of the things we're going to go over is, here's what I challenge all of you. How many of you is going to be in this industry for another 5 years, at least? I hope I am too. So plumbers are real good about like for like. What's the easiest replacement for 50-gallon electric?
50-gallon electric.
What's the easiest replacement for a 50-gallon atmospheric gas? Same thing, like for like. So here's the thing I would challenge you, is that next time you're doing that 50-gallon electric swap out or 50-gallon atmospheric gas swap out, I want you to consider, all right, if it's electric, what would it take for me to go heat pump or hybrid? If it's atmospheric gas, what would it take for me to go, if I stay with gas, go to condensate gas? You know, would I stay with a tank? Would I go tankless? And the reason is, so who always likes to better themselves? Everybody in here like to better themselves? Well, one way to better yourself is, is to learn more. So I don't expect you to go out there and start selling hybrids for every electric replacement. But one thing I would challenge you to do when we get done today is you go there and say, well, all right, this 50-gallon electric, what would I have to do to make a hybrid work in this situation? You know, I got airflow I got to deal with, I got condensate I got to deal with, I got space I got to deal with. How would I handle that? And the reason I say that, you know, every one of us wants our value to increase. And we want our value to our employer to increase. Well, if you already have that mindset of what it takes to go with a hybrid, then the next time you go to replace that heater, you'll already have it done. Because guess what? The next time you replace that heater will no longer exist. So consider that. So that's what I would challenge all of you to do on all your installs, to look ahead. And even if you are doing like for like, what would it take for me to go to the next version?
Do they make a smaller one, a shorter one?
No.
So what do you do in a situation where there's not room for one?
Have to figure it out. So one of the things, so, you know, multifamily. So multifamily, you generally have a 50-gallon low boy sandwiched underneath a air handler. So chances are it's going to be a 35-gallon with either booster or mixing valve or something in there. So I mean, there's going to be options that, you know, or you have 80-gallon options now. So just different things. So that's the reason we're having this discussion. So imagine that in 2030, the largest electric heater is going to be 35 gallon. All right, so why Rheem? So Rheem started heat pumps in 2009. First involved in that. Since then, we're currently on our, what we call our Gen 5 5th generation refresh. This is it here. A lot of the things that we added to the refresh was plumber requested. So we'll kind of talk about that. You know, since Rheem is kind of ahead of the curve because we have an air division that we rely on for the heat pump portion of it. So a lot of the things that we pick up from them. Here's one thing to consider. 5 years ago, there was 4 manufacturers of heat pump water heaters. There's 19 now. So there's people into this industry that never made a tank before, and now they're making heat pump water heaters. So you look, we make a 40, 50, 65, 80 gallon. We also make a 120 volt heat pump only. So this is going to, as far as voltage, takes 240 volts, 30 amp. So it's a similar swap out as a 50 gallon electric or electric heater. Can be transported on the side, we'll talk about that, or laying down, let's put it that way. Can be placed against the wall, and there's a caveat to that, and we'll cover that as well. 100% plumber serviceable. So one of the things that plumbers, so how many of you guys do HVAC work? Yeah, very few plumbers do HVAC work, and that is why Rheem warranties the heater the way they do. If the compressor goes out, it's a 10-year warranty. If the compressor goes out 9 years, 10 months, replace the heater. Don't replace the compressor. If the refrigerant leaks out 9 years, 11 months, replace the heater. As Mike Henry would say, if refrigerant touches us, plumbers don't. It's a closed system. There is no service ports. One thing Rheem found out about not having service ports, you know where 60% of all refrigerant leaks are? Service ports. So by installing them without service ports, they don't have to worry about the leaks. As far as product lineup, these are probably the two that you guys are going to be mostly using. So the ProTerra Premium, that's going to have leak sense and leak guard. How many of you have dealt with leak sense, the red wick around the bottom? I'll tell you this, great thing about leak sense, it works. Bad thing about leak sense, it works. How many of you can replace a heater without getting the floor wet? Yeah, hard to do. So you got to be very careful when it's got the built-in leak sense. You don't want to get that red wick wet, because if you get it wet, as soon as you turn it on, it's going to think it has a leak. So something to be considered. The ProTerra Plus, you can add leak sense, expose the outside, the last thing you do. One of the things I like about it versus the built-in is that this can be the last thing you do before you head to the truck. You can add the valve, leak guard on it as well. Go ahead and pass it around. We also have a utility and builder model. Those are mainly built for builders. We know builders don't like the bells and whistles, so it's kind of a stripped down version. Here are the 120 models. So we have a 120 here on the end. That is a dedicated circuit, so it takes 15 amps. And then we have the ProTerra plug-in Hydro Boost. It's got a mixing valve and it works off a shared circuit. And then we also make commercial units. Commercial unit, we have a hybrid, and then we also have a split system here. So, all right, kind of do a comparison. So a 50-gallon electric. So a 50-gallon electric is 93 UEF. So that's the energy efficiency. So we talked about 2029, anything over 35 gallons has to be a 2.0 or bigger. So that will be no more. First hour delivery, 62 gallons. Recovery, so anybody ever deal with a 240 volt heater, if it's got 4,500 watt elements, it's always 21 gallons per hour. Doesn't matter how many gallons it is, 21 gallons per hour. Diameter 23, height 50 inches, weight 132, not a bad install. Jump down here to 50 gallon hybrid. So it's a 3.75 UEF. 67 gallon first hour delivery. Recovery is 26. How's that possible? Well, it can work off 4,500 watt element, which is 21 gallons per hour. And then you're going to pick up the remaining from the heat pump. They'll both work at the same time when needed. 22.25 inches, so it's a little bit narrower. Height, you're looking at another foot. So if you got an 80 or 50 or something, you need another foot for the tank, then you need some clearance above. We'll get into that. Here's the big thing. You're going from 132 pounds to 193 pounds. So 80 gallon. So we do make 80 gallon. There's the big boy. So it's 4.0 UEF. First hour delivery is 87. That one's got a 27 gallon recovery because it's a bigger tank. Got more coils. Here's the big thing. This thing is 6'3" tall. You need, I would recommend another foot on top of it for service. 280 pounds. It is not, I don't know how Bill is, but that's not a one-person install.
Tell me about it.
So, like I said, all of them do have a 10-year or 10-year warranty. Yes, sir.
So on the 10-year warranty, it's still got thermostats and elements. Are they full 10-year?
Yeah.
Does that go, it is full 10?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, as far as mode of operations, so it comes out of the box in what we call energy saver. So an energy saver, what's going to happen is the heat pump's going to be the primary. So take a heater in general, the bottom element is your primary heat source. Then the top element is when it gets in trouble or when you're depleting it. So kind of the same thing with heat pump. So we do have two elements, but an energy saver, the compressor is going to be the primary. It covers the bottom 2/3 of the tank. So when it calls for heat pump's going to come on. When the top thermistor starts cooling off and gets down to 95 degrees, now the element's going to kick on. So that's how it comes out of the box. So like we talked about, so typically an electric heater is going to give you 4,500 watts of heat. This is going to give you, this is going to give you right at 5,700 watts. So more heat. I'm going to jump down to high demand first. So high demand, what happens there is the elements kick on 15 degrees quicker. So that's high demand, that's what sets it apart. UEF on high demand, so we talked about this being 3.75, and high demand, the UEF is still 2.0. Heat pump only. So heat pump only, naturally is heat pump only. Here's the thing about that. We talked about the recovery being 26 to 27. Heat pump only, you're looking at a 7 gallon per hour recovery. So very efficient, but very slow. You do have electric only. Electric only, the stipulation with that, federal government doesn't used to, you could put it electric only forever. Federal government didn't like that. So we have to back off 72 hours is the max it can be an electric only, and it'll go back. Vacation just sets the tank for 65 degrees. All right, how to offer. This is, like I said, this is not the same price point as a 50 gallon heater. You know, I don't know what your book says, but as far as savings, so if you're going from electric to heat pump, one of the things is you're going to have about a $400 annual savings in just operation in Georgia. So it's going to save your customer $400 a year. Now, again, you guys, how many of you guys mess with tankless? All right. So tankless, you have a higher upfront cost, right? And how do you sell tankless? Longevity, efficiency. Same here. You know, you got a 10-year warranty to span this thing out. So $400 a year, 10 years, $4,000 a year they're going to save. If they went from gas to heat pump, you're looking at over $700 a year savings. So consider this, hybrid is going to be 4 times more efficient than electric, 6 times more efficient than atmospheric gas. All right. So as far as a cost comparison, now I don't know if this even comes close to your all's price book, but here if you had a 50 gallon standard electric that you paid $3,200 to install, there's no federal tax credit, there's no utility rebate, there's no state rebates. So It costs right at $500 a year to run. After 10 years, it's going to cost you $8,000. Versus a hybrid, let's say it's $6,000 to install. There is a possibility for a federal tax credit of up to 30% of the install. Utility rate, Georgia Power currently right now will give a homeowner $1,000. Give the contractor, if you're registered with them, $100. State rebates in Georgia is up to $1,700. So if you factor all that in, which it's going to be almost impossible to get all of them, but potential cost $1,500. Factor in that it's $117 a year to operate. In 10 years, it's going to cost you $2,700. So, what as far as the long game is, it's the heater that makes the most sense. Now, one of the things we'll add as far as advantages, you've got a 10-year warranty, higher efficiency. So if you have somebody that has a basement install or an area that they have a dehumidifier, guess what this acts as? This is the dehumidifier. So they've actually had case studies done where somebody has not only saved that money on water heater savings, but they've done away with the dehumidifier. Now this does the dehumidifier. So it is providing cool, dry air. Leak detection shut off. So as far as Georgia's energy rebates, here, this is the state program. They will offer, if you're a qualified or a registered contractor, they'll give you $1,750. So I don't think I need to send you that to make sure you guys are registered on that. There's also some electrical and HVAC programs in that as well. As far as Georgia Power offers a rebate covering 50% of the cost up to $1,000. So, and that goes back to the homeowner or the customer. So they have some other programs as well, but heat pump is going to be the biggest one. All right. So as far as those of you that don't know how hybrid work, so hybrid, we're not talking two different fuel sources. They're both electric. From here down, you have a standard electric heater. 4,500 watt elements. How many of you have changed a 4,500 watt element? Not any different. Same one. From here up, we have a heat pump. So, as far as cutaway, we're bringing air in through here. We're extracting the heat. So the reason we're more efficient and the reason we're over what we are is that we're not creating heat. Electric and gas heaters, you create heat. Heat pumps don't create heat. It moves heat. So it's going to extract the heat. It's going to pressurize the refrigerant. It's going to boil it to the point to where it's heating that bottom coil. From there, it's coming out, and it's exhausting cool, dry air. So the air coming out is going to be 10 to 15 degrees cooler than the air going into it. So something to factor in when you're looking at location. Really, heat pumps are pretty simple. I mean, you got a pump, so your compressor, you got a condenser, which is going to be wrapped around the tank. You got an expansion valve that's actually controlling everything. It's open and shut, open and shut. So it modulates to whatever it needs. And then you got the evaporator coil on top that's blowing out the cool, dry air. All right, as far as how to transport, so you get a lot of people say, oh, you can't lay them down. If you lay them down, if you stand them up, you got to wait 3 weeks before you hook it up. So Rheem has always allowed their heater to be transported laying flat. They did make some revisions in their protocol last year. This is kind of it. So when you get the box, it's going to have hybrid water heater on 3 sides. There's going to be one side that it doesn't say hybrid water heater. Now it's got a huge sticker about that big that says this side up. Yeah, huge sticker that says this side up. So if you're going to lay it down, this is the side that lays up. And essentially what that means, this is facing up. So why the change? So that compressor is held by 3 studs. Now when it's laying down, you guys have roads that got potholes in them? Oh yeah. So depending on what they found was, depending on how it got transported, depending on how it was turned, it was shaking things loose in the top. You get it hooked up, you turn it on, and did it work? Yeah, it worked, but it was loud. So there was things broke loose. So this is the way they decided that it needed to be transported. So as far as how long it needs to set it up for an hour. You know, so by the time you get it hooked up, you can turn it on and you're good to go. Any questions? All right. Don't stack. I don't think too many people are going to worry about stack, especially the 80 gallon. All right. So let's get into the meat and potatoes, how to install. So one thing about it, you can install the heater up against the wall. However, let me ask this. So how many of you guys consider yourself production plumbers? All right, good. So to me, there's 2 mindsets as far as plumbers. There's production plumbers, usually new construction, all about getting in, getting out, next job. You got service plumbers that are always looking at, if I got to come back, am I in a good spot? So if you install this and you put it up against the wall, there are screws around here. If a screw is going to be up against the wall, do somebody a favor and remove the screw. Because if you have to get into this to maintain it, I hope you got a multi-tool in your truck. Because if you can't get that screwdriver back there to get that screw out, you're either going to drain it, put it in a new heater. So, but keep that in mind. It's got a filter that needs to be cleaned. So we require 6 inches of clearance. I would recommend, highly recommend, you have at least 12. Now you can get this out. It is bendable. Question I get a lot of times, well, how often do you clean it? My smart aleck answer is, how many cats do you have? So, you know, depending on your customer, you know, I would probably leave it with, you know, replace or clean it when you replace your furnace filter.
And you clean it with water? Or?
You can clean it with water. If it's dusty, you can shake it off. You can clean it with water. If it's grimy, you can use soap. The only thing I would, if you're using water or soap, you want to make sure you tell them to dry it off before they put it back in. Yeah. So there's a rope in there that acts as a leak sense if the condensate stops up. Yeah. So it's no different than the leak sense that we sent around. If that wetness drips down onto it, it's going to code that its condensate stopped up and shut down. So, anybody got any questions on that? No, this is not my heater. I didn't use the flex connector. So just get that out there. All right. No shark bites, no flexes. So, if you have a customer that's interested in this, so I think you're probably, again, I don't think you all are going to run out there and start installing hybrids tomorrow. But you're probably going to have some customers that's going to ask you about them. If they are interested, and one thing that you need to talk about is this thing makes a sound. What sound does an electric water heater make? No. Yeah. If it's making a sound, there's some issues. So this is going to make a sound. A new sound to most people is a noise. So, you know, we're talking 45 decibels or less, about like a refrigerator. But again, if it's they've never had that sound, it's going to be a noise. So it's something you want to have a conversation. Hey, this thing is going to make a sound. So you can equate that to a refrigerator. So your sound's coming from your fan and your compressor. You're going to have vibration from the compressor. So depending on how you install it, so one of the things, you see copper pipe. So how many of you guys like to install their heaters with copper? All right, same here. If it's in a house that's got PEX or CPVC, you're probably never going to have an issue. If it's a house that's got copper and they drilled 7/8 hole for 3/4 inch copper, there's a possibility that you're going to have some vibration throughout the house. If that's the case, then as much as I hate to say it, you want to use some type of flex or a piece of PEX in there to take that vibration away. Our friends in California require earthquake strapping. We recommend if you ever move out there or have to do earthquake strapping, use a nylon strap.
On the vibration, is it okay to do like the pads?
Yeah.
underneath? Will that help?
Yeah. Pads do help. So the one thing good question on the pads, all pads are not created equal. They do have a weight limit, I found out. Some of them have a weight limit of 50 pounds. How many pounds was the 80-gallon heater? 280. 80 pounds of water weighs how much? 640 pounds. So you're looking at 900 to 800 pounds, or about 900 pounds on that 50-pound pad. So yeah, you might just be careful. The Timo pads or Temu pads are 50 pounds, but just watch out.
I had a customer ask me a couple different customers, and they wanted ductwork from the top.
Yeah.
To go to a different room. They wanted the heater installed here, but they wanted that air to go somewhere else.
Yep.
Is that capable of that?
Yep.
It's 8-inch pipe, right?
Give me about 3 slides. Damn, you were supposed to wait. All right, so what's the ideal room for this application? So ideal room,
Basement.
this would be it, but a room that has 700 cubic feet. So the atmospheric gas, you have to have what? Combustion air, right?
Yeah.
You have to have makeup air for this. You have to have enough air for it to move. So 700 cubic feet, so let's say a minimum of a 10 by 10 by a 7-foot ceiling. So that allows enough air changes to where it will work without any issues. So that is the best location. Garage, great spot. Basement, if you get it. Again, if it's a basement install, you've got a dehumidifier for them. You might run into a crawl space or an attic. Southern Alabama and Southern Georgia, they're building new homes every day, putting these in the attics, which I cringe, but that's. But that's your ideal location. From 400 cubic feet to 700 cubic feet, you want to look at some type of venting, so like a partial louver door, cutting 3/4 inches off the bottom of the door, something to get that air moving. Here's one thing. If you ever install one of these and the temperature in the room drops 15 degrees, there's not enough air moving. So remember, the air coming in is going to be hotter than the air going out. So if I bring in 70-degree air, I'm going to blow out 55 to 60-degree air going out. If the room is not big enough to allow me to make those changes, then the room's going to get colder. So something to think about. For less than 400 cubic feet, you're probably going to look at some type of ducting. So closet, you can put it in a closet, louver door. You want to make sure if you do put it in a closet. So how many would install the heater like this in this closet? Elements facing straight out, the controller looks good, don't it? this is wrong. It shouldn't. This should be turned, well, this has got ducting, but let's take the ducting out. You turn it, you want this to be blowing out that louver door. So one of the things I would tell you when you're looking at this, always visualize where that air is going and where this air is coming from. If this is going up if you're blowing this up against the wall, you need at least 6 inches of space, at least. But if it blows up against the wall, it's going down and up. What's going up, it's going right back here. So if you got 70, 60, 50, 40, now I got a code. So the compressor is going to work anywhere from 37 degrees to 140 degrees. If the ambient air coming in here gets below 37 degrees, it's going to have a code, a freeze warning. Now the compressor will shut down, but the elements will work. So, all right. Any questions on that? As far as ducting, so you can duct top or bottom. Now the outlets, the top is an 8-inch, the side is 10-inch. It is duct ready. So you see these tabs? So the tabs you pull out like this, and then you can attach your tin to. The one thing I will tell you is on the side outlet, you'll see up here there's 2 little pieces of metal. If you're putting ductwork in here, you want to clip them so that ductwork goes into that, so you don't have to cut a fish mouth out of it. So as far as sizing, so you can reduce it all the way down to 5-inch if you're doing rigid, down to 6-inch if you're doing flex. So that's the answer to your question. So you can go all the way down to 6-inch. Flex, why most people are using flex because it's already insulated. Because again, if you're ducting out the exhaust and you don't insulate it, it's probably going to sweat. There is distances. So at 10-inch, you can go 125 foot. I don't think anybody's going to be running 125 foot of ducting. But your question, as far as ducting it to another room, I've seen them duct it into a garage, duct it into the attic, duct it into the crawl.
My condition was the guy had like a kind of garage, it's like a man cave.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted that cool area.
The coolest one I seen is the guy had a gun room, a pretty good sized gun room, and he put it in there to dehumidify. So keep your mind open, and if you see somebody, hey, this would be great for this room. When size is an issue, it's kind of like tankless. Great thing about tankless is, most cases you can easily move a heater if it's tankless. So if it's not going to work in this spot, well, I can move it over here. Not that big of a deal. You might get into the spot on these as well. It's not going to work here, but if we move it over here, it'll work perfect. So, anybody got any questions on ducting? The one thing I will tell you, if you're using flex ducting, and we learned this the hard way. So flex ducting, is there any air guys in here? Good. Oh. Always one. So here's the issue. So when you see flex duct, you ever see it run like that? It's not supposed to run like that. Flex duct's supposed to be tight. If you got a 10-foot run, you're supposed to have a 10-foot piece of flex. If you have a 7-foot run and you put a 10-foot piece, you've diluted the airflow by 75%. So those coils suck the life out of the airflow. So if you ever go on a heater that has ducting that's having a code airflow issue, before you do anything, disconnect the ducting and see what happens. Clayton Homes puts a ton of these in. They were putting flex duct. That was 6-8 foot longer than it should have been, and it was having air code issues. because that coil in there keeps the air from flowing. So went, cut 5-6 foot of duct, put it back in, worked fine. So if you're going to use flex ducts, just be careful on how you run it.
Tim?
Yes.
I was
Oh,
gonna suggest,
my bad.
You may want to put a collar or a short piece of metal on the beginning of that, and then transition
Yeah.
to the flex duct. It just give you something to,
Right.
flexible duct, right?
Especially on this, if you have to turn, use a 90, don't use flex to turn.
Yeah.
So that I will recommend. If you have to go up or down or from the side, I would use a 90 instead of flex for that first 90. Good,
Does the amount
good
of
catch.
turns you make with flex duct reduce?
Yeah,
Factor for that?
yeah. So 5 foot for every 90.
Okay.
I took that part off here because I'm like, oh, nobody will ask. Glad I remembered. All right. Anybody got any questions on ducting? As far as the Gen 5 refresh, so that's this one. So one of the things, the refresh, is that plumbers hated side connects. So up till this one, all we had was side connects. And that was the number one thing that plumbers wanted was top connects. So with the refresh, we came out with top connects. The good thing is that they kept the side connects. So if it works out better for you to use side connects, you can. Out of the box, they come capped. If you want to use one or both, you can. You just transfer the caps to the one you don't use. So one thing I will tell you that if you come up here and look at this, the brass nipples coming out have a mark. And it's that mark or that notch needs to be on the top side of it, on both. So the top one has a J-bend. The J-bend is that far from the top of the tank, so we can get all of the tank. If you turn this, how many guys like to take and tighten it down as much as they can? I'm sure one of you in here are. If you turn that J-bend down, you just lost that much tank. That tank will be hot and never be used. So we put the flat sides on here for backup. So use it. The bottom, same thing. The bottom's got a diffuser that's pointed down to stir up that sediment. If you turn it, that diffuser turns. So remember where those notches are and to keep them up top. All right. As far as do you have to use both top or both sides, you can mix it up. So if it works out that you can do, you want to come the hot out here and the cold up here, you can, or vice versa. If you want to use, if you've got recirc, you can use the bottom for recirc and then the top for that. Only thing I would caution you about the top connects for now is that, one, you got a filter you got to deal with. Two, go vertical as high as you can in case you got to take this off. So currently right now this is one piece. So if you got to take it off, you want to be able to slide it straight up. If not, you're going to have to disconnect the water lines. All right, recirc. So recirc does wreak havoc on hybrids, primarily 24/7 recirc. Recirc, if you're going to recirc, I'll give you a couple caveats. Is one, you want to put a timer to where it only recircs one cycle every 30 minutes, or it's got an aquastat where it's going to stop about 105 degrees or less at the heater. So if Grundfos makes a pump, it's their Grundfos Alpha. If you're a pump fanatic, I would search that pump. It's probably, to me right now, that's probably the smartest pump out there. It's out of the box, you can put tankless, tank, or hybrid. So it's got 3 modes. It's got a self-learning. It'll take 20 minutes and run a cycle, and it'll determine how many gallons per minute it's running, how fast it's running. They were promoting it for PECs because over circulation for PECs. So I would recommend searching that pump if you're like I said, if you're a pump fanatic. Oh, they're not cheap. They are definitely not cheap. But it's like I said, right now it's probably the best pump out there. I don't think they're no $3,000, but
2,900, 2,600.
last one I bought was like $500.
It's installed with some type of control package or
That
Yeah.
one's 430.
Yeah, that's more like it.
That's why you don't like it. This is like the commercial one.
Yeah, Grand Falls Alpha is pretty. So they have a crossover version and they got a dedicated one. Yeah, it's a slick setup. Condensate. So, you got condensate on electric heaters? No, you got condensate on heat pump water heaters. Now, did you have to neutralize it? No, it's just water out of the air. So non-acidic, non-toxic. So when you're looking at that install, you might have to install a pump. You know, one of the things, you know, the plumbers of Rheem ask for is a plug or a receptacle to hook up a condensate pump. We'll see. But, you know, so you might have to have a condensate pump, just something to keep in mind. Ideally, put a T so you can clean it out. This thing will do about 2 gallons a day if it's humid. So that's how much it's going to give out. One of the things I highly encourage you to do an all plastic male adapter. So again, this goes for the bicep guys in here. So here we have a male adapter, like most of you put on with stainless steel threads. You know, somebody puts about 4 wraps of Teflon tape and dopes it up, Blue Monster on there and cranks down on there. Cracks this. So, talked about the refrigerants, a non-serviceable part. This tray is not a replaceable part. We don't make it to replace. If you crack that tray, you got 1 or 2 options. 1, buying a new heater. 2, JB Weld is my friend. So be careful, put it in her hand tight, quarter turn, be done with it. All right, anybody got any questions on the install? So install, like I said, you know, your height, you're gonna add another 12 inches for the tank. I would highly encourage you to try to get that other 12 inches for maintenance. Put it up against the wall. Be mindful of the screws. Airflow. You got to have, you know, it's just like gas heaters. You need, instead of combustion air, you got to have makeup air. Be mindful of that airflow. So you got air coming in, you got air going out. Make sure they don't mix. Water lines, top, side, electric, 240, 30 amp, nothing different there. Condensate. I think I've covered all that. Move on to service. So, like I said, compressor, covered under the warranty. Refrigerants, covered under the warranty. There are some things that's going to be new to you all that we're going to go over. Now, one cool thing I'll do about, or talk about this, is that in test mode, you can go to this heater and you can walk up to it, and you're going to press mode in next. You're going to hold it for 5 seconds. You're going to get a screen, and that screen is going to have test on there. At that point, you can module through. So I'm going to hit mode next. I'm going to hold it for 5 seconds, and then I'm going to go up and down. So if I go up, it's going to give me the option for upper element, UE. So what does that do? So it allows me to turn the element on, and then it's going to give me the temperature of this top thermistor, and that's going to give me the amperage of the element. So I can go in there, and I'm looking for 18.75 if it's perfect, plus or minus 1. So, you know, I'm looking for 18 to 19 to 20 amps. So I know that element's fine. I keep going. I can do lower element. It's going to turn it on. It's going to give me the temp. I can sit there and watch the temp rise as it's heating if I want to. And that's going to give me the amperage. Go back, go to compressor. At that point, it's going to kick the compressor on. It's going to give me the temperatures of the thermistors. Now, so we talked about amperage on a 4,500 watt element is 19 amps. So the compressor on here is giving you 1,300 watts of heat. Now here's a crazy number for you. What amperage do you think this heat pump pulls? To provide 1,300 amps or 1,300 watts of heat, how many amps do you think it takes? It takes 19 amps to give you 4,500 watts with an element. Heat pump, less than 2 amps. So that's how we get the efficiency. Is, you know, elements, 19 amps to give you 4,500 watts. Heat pump, less than 2 amps to give you 1,300. So, big difference. So I can go through the reason I tell you this, that if you ever have to have a call to tech support, I would go and I would go through test mode and I would take down these 6 temperatures, because chances are they're going to have you run through the same thing and have you do this. So what they're looking for is on the compressor side or on the refrigerant side, they're looking for, you know, this is going to be your highest temperature, your discharge temperature, the line going down to the tank. Then it's going to be, suction's going to be next, and then evaporator's going to be next, so that way they can see how it's operating. And it's got, as long as it falls into those, they know it's good. So, all right. There's 6 thermistors. Now, I usually pass the thermistors around, but I actually, for you all, I actually cut this out of a heater. So I'll go over replacing thermistors here in a little bit, but the reason I want to pass this around, these are Molex connectors. I want you to figure out how to disconnect these one-handed. Huh? Well, you can change, I've changed thermistors from just taking the top off, but you have to do it one-handed. If you can't do it one-handed, then you're probably gonna have to take the shroud off. But you can read, there's only enough room to reach down with one arm, at least for me. It might be some thin guys in here somewhere, but no, reason
You look right past me.
so, but yeah, just see how this goes together so you can figure out how to take it apart. Oh man, that's a good one. All right, so each thermistor has a code. In test mode, if you ever see a temperature that says minus 40 or 250 degrees, that thermistor is either shorted or open. That thermistor sends a specific resistance back to the computer. So I can tell you, if I wanted to take a multimeter and check it, if the thermistor is 77 degrees, it'll give me a reading of 10,000 on ohms. So the resistance changes. All right, so there's 6 thermistors. All thermistors are the same. Same part number, it just plugs into a different connector. You'll look and you see on that one there's 2 different color wires on those connectors.
kind of yearly service do you recommend? Like,
Yearly service is that, you know, flush it, you know, that. I would take and maybe pour some vinegar down the condensate, kind of bleed it, or, you know, clean it out.
so Bill, would that be a different, we just keep it as a regular water heater service agreement?
Yeah.
Jim, that, drain line doesn't need to have a trap in it or anything?
No, no trap. Good catch. No trap. It's not, you know, conditioned there, so we're not worried about it.
And all this is in the manual?
Yes,
You
sir.
Put with the heater?
Yep.
Okay.
It'll be in the use and care.
Hey, just say, you know, I was thinking in my head, as Tim's talking, all the things he's talking about is the difference between you guys and Home Depot.
Yeah.
They're not gonna have the knowledge that you guys are getting right here.
So, you know, the thing about it is, I mean, and as a plumber, I hate to say this, HVAC has always been ahead of us on service contracts, technical education. I mean, they've been there doing, you know, back before manometers. Yeah, ProPress. Yeah, ProPress. That's very true. ProPress. Yeah, they're catching up on ProPress. Yeah. Well, the hands-on, they've always been behind on that, but you know, with tankless kind of gave us an avenue to do annual maintenance. And you know, I remember when a tank, well, I remember when a 50-gallon electric was less than $100. That's been a while. As products gotten higher, homeowners want to take care of them. So, you know, this is another thing, annual maintenance. I mean, yeah, it's got a 10-year warranty, but I'd just soon not have to replace this heater. How do I do that? I maintain it every year. So, anode, you know, I don't know if you guys are messing with anodes, but if you're doing annual maintenance, I would strongly consider pulling the anode, pulling it out, and looking at it. And either taking a picture of it, whether it's this heater or any heater, taking a picture of it and showing the homeowners that, hey, here's your anode.
How
You know,
much clearance do we need to get the anode right out?
on this one, a good bit. A good bit. I mean, the anode is down here. You're going to have a 15-inch extension to get to it. So that's one of the things we've asked for, a better access anode on this. So, yeah, but no, I mean, back to your point on maintenance, I would pull an anode. All you got to do is pull it up 6 inches to see how much cable's left. If it's degraded, pull it out, throw a new one in, and move on. The thing about it is, if you maintain, this is kind of getting off of hybrids, but you know, Mike and I know a guy that his uncle was a plumber, flushed the heater religiously. Heater lasted 42 years before he replaced it. Only reason he replaced it, he was selling the house and realtor says, you gotta get this thing out of here. It was still working. But he replaced the anode every 3 to 5 years and flushed it every year. So as long as there's an anode for the oxygen to attack, it's not going to attack the heater. So the only time the oxygen in the water attacks the steel is when there's no anode. Anode's going to last, what, 3 to 5 years, Mike? Maybe, depending on your water quality. So you might want to think about throwing that in there as well, but that's just off track. Sorry about that. All right, so kind of go over some things and we'll start dismantling. So there's 6 thermistors. So instead of having a thermostat like you typically would on a heater, we have a thermistor here, we have a thermistor here. We do have an ECO up on top. So to get on into these, there's really 3 parts I want to show you guys that you might have to replace, or that's part of the replaceable item. One's going to be the control board. Get it off, fingernails, pop it off, 2 screws. Take 2 screws out, There's 6 Molex connectors on the back side. Then I'm not disconnected. 6 Molex connectors, and then there's 6 straight connectors. Anybody here colorblind? Not sure? All right. If you're not as long as you're not colorblind, this should be a piece of cake. If you're colorblind, take somebody with you. All right. You'll notice I said the 6 straight connectors. So those are the only ones that you can mix up, but they're color coded. So you'll look on here: blue, white, black, orange, yellow, brown. So I always make that joke. Every now and then somebody says, "Yeah, I'm colorblind." So that's the control board. So that's a replaceable part. All right. I use that because I need to get the top off. So as far as getting the top off, there's 4 screws. Again, if you're butting up against the wall, do somebody a favor and take a screw out. There's 3 screws here and here to hold the electrical part. Now there's enough slack in there that you can pull this up. Of course, I got them pulled, but there's enough slack in here that you can pull this up about that high. So you can pull it up that high. You got a pair of vice grips, clamp onto the water lines and let it hold there, or however you want to do it. All right. So from here, you can access the 4 thermistors. So thermistor, that's another 4 screws. And don't forget that one if it's up against the wall. So discharge temperature. So all right, here's your pump or your compressor. So discharge is this line here. Your thermistor is right there. That's your discharge thermistor. Now, you've seen the mastic that's on the ones I pass around. Yeah. That there's mastic that goes around that thermistor that holds the heat so it gets an accurate reading. So the discharge, the evaporator, so your evaporator is going to be here, and then your ambient's here, and your suction's down here. The suction, evap, and discharge are all going to have that insulating around it. So you just peel it, keep peeling it until it comes off. And then when you put it back in, if you have to replace one, they'll send you a pad to go back over top of it. So, bless you. So we got the 4 thermistors up here. How do thermistors go bad? So thermistors will go bad if they get moisture inside of them. So who's got the thermistors right now? Oh, Ken's hogging everything. Here's one thing I would tell you. So the thermistor, you see the 2 wires going into the metal piece. If you're putting the thermistor vertical, do not put it this way. Put it this way. What happens is if there's moisture that gets down in here, you have this copper, you have a piece of stainless steel, and you have a glass in there. If that moisture gets in there, it's going to corrode, and that's when it goes bad. So if somebody replaces one, they put it like that, there's a good chance that moisture is going to run down this wire. If it goes like this, the moisture is going to wick off the bottom or drop off the wall. You didn't see this, have you? Anybody not see these? So that's your 4 thermistors up here. So we have another one. In the case right here. Now the one thing old school that we still have on here is the ECO. So you still have the reset. So one thing, if you're checking power, let's say you go and the screen's blank. Pull this off, check your power up here. The power comes here before it goes anywhere else. So this is the same safety device that's on every electric heater. So if that ECO trips, you're not going to have power up to here. We have another thermistor on the bottom. And again, all the thermistors are the same. So, capacitor. Anybody familiar with capacitors? All right. So, what's capacitor do? Stores energy. Kicks on. So that compressor at times needs up to 300 volts. Oh man, you just stole my thunder. So capacitor is a replaceable part. So it's storing that power. So to get to it, take the control board off. Don't have to disconnect it. You can lay it to the side. So you see it here. There's a hose clamp. Phillips screwdriver. Loosen the hose clamp up. Pull it out. So there's 3 wires. 1 coming in, 2 going out. Doesn't matter which, as long as the 1 is on 1, the 2 is on 1. So there is no in and out. You want to take a screwdriver and discharge the capacitor. Anybody ever take a 9-volt battery and stick it to your tongue? Do not do it with this. So, yeah, they keep telling me, like, you're going to have to stop telling people that because somebody's eventually going to do it. So, those are the replaceable parts. So, so the capacitor is a typical HVAC capacitor. It's nothing special.
So we'll have those already right there?
Yeah.
Those capacitors are 10 years also.
Yeah. Yeah, amazing, isn't it? So, there's, you guys see me do that already. So, what questions do you have on heat pumps? Yes, sir.
You said there was a relief valve in the process of the coils. That one's not replaceable?
Expansion valve?
The expansion valve.
Yeah. So, yes and no. So here's the expansion valve. The valve itself, not replaceable. Magneto is, but I've never known it to be replaced. So, which I never bring it up. So but yeah, I mean, it plugs into the control board and screws off. Yeah.
Is that something where we'll have failures in that and that's just a tank replacement?
I've never known the expansion valve. I've been with Rheem for 3 years and I've never heard of an expansion valve fail.
Is there code, it will throw code at the Magneto?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I mean, it'll throw a code whatever fails.
Okay.
I mean, usually like on a refrigerant leak, it's going to mess your discharge temperature out, so it's going to give you a code on that. So the thing, it's like, so it will tell you if, not necessarily that you have a refrigerant leak, but if the compressor is taking current and none of the temperatures change, chances are we're missing something.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a smart product as far as that. I can send you guys the service manual, the good one. So, what was your question? I thought you had one.
I'm just thinking.
All right. So what do you think is your biggest hurdle of selling this, other than price points? I know price, space. Yeah. So what would be your average location of a heater in your area, in your territory?
It varies.
50% closet, 50%
Closet? Yeah.
and a basement.
Yeah.
Floor space.
You know, closets, you know, I wish there was an easy fix.
The older houses, they'll have a 19-inch door.
Yeah.
You need a lot more louver doors.
Yeah. So the 40 inch is your narrowest. It's 20 and a half inches
Yeah.
diameter.
Which that's skinnier than,
The 40 is narrower, but it's it's actually an inch taller than the 50. But,
I think height would be the main.
But I think too, like on your closets and different things like that, we do have the, you know, you gotta one step up on some of it that we know how to run ductwork around here. That if we have to run some ductwork and we have to put a register in a wall or something like that, so it gets into another room. You know, obviously, everybody in this room is capable of doing that. Or if we can have, you know, HAC show us how to do it.
We can get some payback and send this back out.
Absolutely not. We are very capable of running ductwork in this room. We already know how to. We already know that game. We already know how to do all that stuff. We can.
White water heater.
All right. Yes, sir.
I don't know if you may have answered this or not, but I went to a client's house Wednesday. She didn't have a heat pump, but her water heater, it was a Rheem. Her water heater was like linked to an app for Rheem. Like if she had like an issue, it could
Smart.
pop up on her phone. Is that one
Yeah.
that same feature?
Yeah. So you can. So if the homeowner, I rarely get that question from plumbers. But no, it can link up to EcoNet. Here's something that's pretty wild. That so if you have a customer and they have Wi-Fi and they want their heater connected, they can connect to it. Tech support, if they're hooked up and they're linked to the cloud, tech support can actually pull about 6 months worth of data. So they can look at the performance of that compressor and tell, you know, well, it struggled on, you know, something happened on this day, this thing was labored, or, you know, it had a hard time keeping up. And they can go in and say, well, it was in heat pump mode this day, then they put it in high demand. So, I mean, the cloud keeps all that stuff. It's pretty wicked. So, I mean, we've had a couple of issues. I have one local that I went on, and you guys will get a kick out of this. So, plumber calls me and he's like, hey, he says, you know, this homeowners, or well, what it was that they go out there for a leak sense code. So he goes out there, they call tech support sends them 3 thermistors. Plumber's like, thermistors? It's got a leak. It's coding a leak. So I go out there, well, it's not leaking. It was signal code, but what happened was it was freezing up, condensate was running down, and it would throw a leak code, and by the time somebody got down there, the string was gone, you know, the stream of water was gone. And then they didn't know that it shut down because it came back on. And so, you know, tech support went in there and it's like, you know, this. So the plumber's like, yeah, he said, so the homeowner's an engineer. So the homeowner has got this heater in a wood shop. Now, I'll have to say that it was the most immaculate wood shop I've ever seen. But he had the sawdust collector right next to the heater. He had put 5 furnace filters. So he built a box out of 4 furnace filters, then put one on top of it. And he was starving it for air, and that's why it was freezing up. And he's like, well, I done the calculations. And I'm like, well, I said, according to our engineers, you didn't do the right calculations. took the box off, and he's never and hadn't had an issue since. But it was, you know, tech support pulled the data, and it's like it's not leaking. This is the issue. Now they didn't know that the condensate was tripping the leak sense, but yeah. So, but yeah, it's interesting. But no. So what does the app get you? So in the app, they can schedule. So we talked about the different modes. So let's say you have a customer that works, you know, out of town 5 days a week. So they can go into the app and schedule that to be on vacation from midnight Sunday to noon on Friday. And then be on high demand Friday and Saturday, energy saver on Sunday, and then right back to off. They find out they lose their job on Wednesday, they can go get on their phone and turn it on their way home. So the biggest thing, if somebody is a true tech geek, they're probably going to want to look at the usage report because it'll show them how much they're saving as far as energy. So, friend of ours, he's a plumber down in Florida. He's had an 80-gallon hybrid. It cost him, the first 12 months, it cost him $70 to run it for a family of 4. Now, granted, he's got 70-degree water coming into the house, so that's part of it. But like I said, family of 4, and it cost him $70 for 1 year. So, all right. So, any questions on hybrids? So we're getting you guys about ready to head out. So, I passed out a wiring diagram for what we call the ELDD. So, you guys had asked about the 80-gallon conversions. Now, I didn't bring an 80-gallon heater in. Mike wasn't going to load it up for me. So, but this is an ELDD. So if you're in a spot, so we can make an 80-gallon commercial heater. What makes it a commercial heater? It leaves the plant and it's got to be 277 simultaneous. So what happens, and I took all these off. Anybody ever take the bottom cover off of one of these heaters? All right. Huh?
Not to convert it.
Right. Well, the reason I take it off is that you'll notice on the bottom, it's got an ECO. It's got its own ECO. So, can you guys see this all right? So you can follow me along. So this is how it comes from the factory. The one on the drawing is how it comes to the factory. Now just follow along. So here's your power coming into here. So as your power is coming into here, it's going to this ECO. This black wire goes to the bottom element, or bottom thermostat. Then this red wire goes to the bottom. So it's full current. So all this is a coupling, or a T, whatever you want to call it. So that means it's simultaneous. Doesn't mean that they'll both will always work. It means that they can work at the same time. So if you left that like it was and you put it in a house or a situation that was only a 30 amp, what's going to happen? It's going to blow a breaker. Because guess what? 19 amps and 19 amps, 38 amps, 30 amp breaker won't work. So if you don't do the conversion, as soon as you hook it up, I wouldn't say as soon, but within a half hour, it's going to pop.
If you were to run it simultaneously, what size amp breaker would you need?
60, yeah. I mean, you could probably get by with 50, but the thing of it is you got wiring. Your wire, it's not okay. Yeah.
And there's a warranty difference, correct, in the commercial?
Not this one. So there's 2 ELDs. There's an ELD TB, which has a terminal block. The terminal block is the one that's got the big box in front of it. It's got a box that sticks out, I don't know, probably about this far. Yeah. That one is a 3-year warranty. So it's a typical commercial warranty. This one has a 6-year warranty. Now, if you're doing PPKs, that doesn't work on this. So
What's the ones we get, Bill?
I thought it was this one's what I.
Yeah.
No.
We get the same warranty. We thought it was a 3-year.
No, this one. So the TB. So let me ask you this. So is this the one? Are you changing in the top thermostat? It's the D.
Some of them are coming with like wire already like wrapped up, and you have a whole lot of wire to
Yeah.
change. And some of them you have to.
Well, be happy you got a lot of wire,
Some of them don't.
because every now and then.
They're stuck behind it, and you have to like.
So this is how a heater's made. So they set the tank, they put the jacket in there, it's wired, they put the jacket in there. The last thing that happens is foam. If that wire moves and it gets foamed, seen some cases where you have to put a wire nut to get enough wire to go into there. So I've seen guys that, they complain about it, but you can get a wire nut and number 10 wire and run it over there. You're good. Huh?
So that's not too big a deal.
No, but there's some guy, there's a lot of plumbers out there that the first thing, I'm not an electrician.
Yeah, I did one the other day, and it had like a bunch
Yeah.
of wire.
Oh, I mean, we've given them enough grief because, like I said, it's happened a couple of times where you don't have enough wire and you got to use a wire nut. So it doesn't surprise me. Like I said, just be happy you had the wire. So essentially, all you're doing is you're taking this black wire from the top left and moving it to the bottom right. You're taking the red and dropping down one. So what you're doing is you're making this matches up to a residential heater. 50 gallon, it's going to match up to it. The thermostats are no different. So from the factory, it comes 277 simultaneous. Really, 277 is a 2-wire. 240 is a 2-wire. If you had 277, so the reason you don't have to change the element is that the element is dual rated. So it'll work at 277 at 6,000 watts. When you only power it with 240, now it becomes a 4,500 watt. And then if you could power it with 208, but now it's a 3,300 watt. So it's going to change your first hour delivery and recovery. So, the ELD TB terminal block. This is the one that's got the box. The plus about it is that this one, it does have it's only a 3-year warranty. However, you can do 480 single phase and 3-phase with it. So it's a more capable, more capacity. Kind of similar thing. This is what you would typically do. So you're going 2-wire non-sim. So you're taking this red wire, putting it to L2, and the black wire from T1, putting it to TM. So you're just revert or moving the power so it's non-sim instead of sim.
And that graph is on the units too. It's in the door.
Yeah, that one. If you open it up, like I said, I'll send this to Bill, and you'll have this. I just printed that one because I talked to Mark, and Mark was the one saying you guys are doing the D's. Yeah. So, but yeah. Anybody got any questions? Anybody that wants to come up here, and it's already converted. If you want to take and go back, here's the one thing that I will caution you on. So this screw here, when you tighten it, make sure you tighten it. And the reason I say that is that this red wire is 10 gauge, this blue wire is 12 gauge. So either take your channel locks or wire and squeeze that 10 and put it in there. But you want to make sure you make good connection to both wires.
I ain't got me stressing.
Huh?
Thanks for adding to my stress.
Just the big channel locks are tight.
Oh, it'll be all right. So, October 23rd is heat pump day. Everybody's got a day, even heat pumps. October 23rd, here's a QR code if you want to join in at 2 p.m. And throw some questions out there that you didn't get answered today. Maybe you'll get a better answer then.
You know,